And this Zoom session will take me to the center of Cape Town, to the center of tourism in Cape Town, to Enver Duminy, who's the CEO of Cape Town Tourism. Enver, how are you?
Excellent, my friend Nils. How are you doing?
Good to see you. I'm very well, thank you. As I keep saying, grateful for staying healthy, grateful for a loving family, and grateful for a job, which these days is unfortunately something that not many can, or not all of us can call their own. But seeing you in the Love Cape Town jacket and knowing that you're still at the helm of Cape Town Tourism, I'm really happy to see that. We've known each other, of course, for a number of years now, and of course, we'll talk about the current crisis, because that is something which we all thought about 10 months ago it would be over. Would have been 2 months, would have been horrible, but, and now we're still in it, and, we all are desperately trying to chart our way out of it. So let's get straight into it. Please explain the model of Cape Town Tourism for those who don't know Cape Town Tourism and how it functions, because, it is a bit different to other DMOs. So how does Cape Town Tourism as a DMO function?
So Nils, again, thanks for the invitation opportunity to share some of our thoughts as Cape Town Tourism. So Cape Town Tourism is what you would refer to as a destination marketing organization. That's the old traditional model. And what we were and how we were constituted is that we are actually a voluntary not-for-profit member and industry association. So we are made up of businesses within the tourism space. And then we also are privileged enough to do the official destination marketing on behalf of the local municipality or the government of Cape Town. So what makes us unique is the fact that if you had to kind of almost simplify this, we've got two parents, government and industry, and they then saw it in their vision to create this child called Cape Town Tourism, which takes the best and the worst of both, and tries to then live up to its vision and purpose, and that is to create a better Cape Town for all Cape Townians, but through tourism. And that's a mission we all believe in. It's a mission we, take to heart, as you can see on the Love Cape Town brand. But I also think what makes us unique is that even Cape Town Tourism itself realized that the old DMO model, the destination marketing model, is outdated. So what we've come up with is a new operating model, what we refer to as a DXO. So the X effectively is a variable, which means it changes. And similar to any organization, in order to remain relevant, you need to be able to adapt. You need to change to the changing circumstances. And I think COVID-19 has exacerbated that and shone a light on it for many DMOs around the world. And for Cape Town Tourism, I think because we had the foresight that we needed to adapt our business model, we then already started moving beyond pure destination marketing into what we refer to as destination management. So it's not just about talking about a destination, saying to people that they need to come. What you need to do is make sure that you live up to that promise as a destination. So when it comes to safety, you can't just say it's safe. You actually need to make sure it's safe. And that means it's beyond the industry. That's where the government parent comes in. So I think for us as an organization, we are evolving and we're moving beyond the DMO model into this new DXO world. Right.
Now, COVID has brought us with, or has thrown at us various challenges. One of the, over the last few months, one of the answers to those challenges of declining numbers of international visitors and what have you was the reconcentration, if I can call it that, on domestic tourism. Now, there are some countries that have got a very strong domestic tourism base and they take international tourism as a top-up. We, on the other hand, have, over the last few years, built product for the international market, and that was now completely killed, stone dead. And this horrible thing called the South African variant, which is another discussion worth having, is prolonging that dry patch or the dry period that we're going through. Will Cape Town Tourism concentrate more on domestic tourism than it has in the past? Will there be some changes due to the experience that we now had?
So I think the short answer is yes, we will spend more time and resources on domestic tourism. I think it's a reality for every global destination, as you had mentioned, and we know different. I think where we have a bigger task is that our over-reliance on international demand for decades now has been the one thing that has actually shifted our economy a lot faster. So we have benefited immensely as a destination from international, especially from foreign exchange, I think if it's the best way to explain it. And of course, with all borders being closed, and even when our borders did open, and I think we need to recognize that South Africa's borders are open, people can travel here internationally. We're not closed to the world. We are open. And I think the problem is that a lot of our key source markets, they've closed their borders, so nobody can leave the countries. So I think what we've realized is that we've got this amazing global destination that people, spend a lifetime dreaming of, and hopefully, and probably only get one opportunity to visit. South Africans literally have it on their doorstep. And what we realize is that we need to start reconcentrating our efforts on the domestic market, remind them of why this is such a global destination, reminding them of the ease of getting here and not having to deal with visas and all the other complications that go to a different destination. But I think ultimately, we don't have that much choice. At the end of the day, you need to hunt where the customers are. And the customers we do have is within our borders. What we also have realized is that we've actually slipped in our domestic rankings because of the over-concentration on international products. I think also some of the pricing has alienated locals from an affordability perspective. And there's also certain perceptions about the destinations that South Africans have. So what we are doing is we actually got an uphill battle to firstly create awareness around all the value and values that the destination still has, and then trying to make sure we can create enough of an interest to get people to visit. And how we've done that is simply by understanding what the core issues are for locals. One, price sensitivity. So what we do is we actually talk about a value for money destination. And that we did through a simple campaign called 50 Things to Do in Cape Town for under 50 Rand. And then we created a pocket-friendly challenge where a family can actually enjoy Cape Town for 150 Rand. So what we're trying to do is to showcase what we really have on our doorstep as locals that we take full advantage of, and then just shining a light and showing that to a South African audience. So yeah, domestic will be that in the short run, but we are still trying to keep Cape Town top of mind in our key source markets.
Look, it must be a tightrope to walk to make sure that you please not only the two parents that you have, but also to make sure that we stay relevant locally as well as there. And I think it's in the product mix really, and to make sure that you got product that is delivering to that and understands what it means to deliver to those two separate markets where there is a bit of overlap, I'm sure. But and I'm thinking of certain luxury products and whatever, which for your average South African is definitely out of reach. And for many of the overseas visitors, as you say, also something which is once in a lifetime. Take a safari or take a luxury lodge or a luxury hotel here in Cape Town, and doing all the wonderful things that one can do in and around our wonderful city. Now, talk about the relevance. How do you ensure that the destination stays top of mind during these times, and how do you communicate that to the local market that you're trying, and you touched on that already with the campaigns that you talked about, but how do you manage to keep in touch with the overseas market that will definitely come back? When we don't know yet, but it will come back, and people are itchy, people are dying to get here, but they want to come in a time when they don't have to go back to 2 weeks quarantine at home, but when they can go straight after a wonderful holiday straight back to work.
A very good question, Nils. And I think that's something we grappled with at the start of lockdown. I think earlier when you were opening up the conversation, you had indicated that we thought this was going to be a very short lockdown. A year later, we're still dealing with, a COVID world. And how we've done it and continue to do it as Cape Town Tourism is we need to make sure that Cape Town remains top of mind. And what we've done is we shifted our campaigns from being marketing campaigns that leads to conversion to being communications campaigns, because communication is key. So in all our key source markets, we still continue to engage directly with travel trade and travel media. We use our relationships through South African tourism, through embassies, because we know they're still in market. So we need to make sure that they understand what is still amazing about the destination. And secondly, what is new and unique, because there is still product development happening. Things are still coming on stream. So our job is to be that facilitator of saying, don't go and hunt and look for stuff. Let us actually package it and give it to you so that you can then pass this on to your consumers, your trade. Or if you want to write an article about something, let us keep things top of mind. And how we've done that is through a simple communications campaign called We Are Worth Waiting For, where we almost created this nostalgia about a love affair that someone has with a destination when they visit it. And there's this longing and yearning. So while you're still in lockdown, let me remind you of why you fell in love with me, so that when we do get an opportunity to reconnect again, that time will happen. But we are worth waiting for. The other thing we've done is we've actually created, continue to update content on our online travel trade platform. And Cape Town is ranked in the top 10 destinations in the world still today, so that we actually start helping trade update their information about the destination. There's a couple of competitions around it, so we gamify it a little bit. But that's just one or two examples of what we are doing in trying to keep it top of mind. The last thing is countering some of the negative media out there. So you spoke about the SA variant. We've got a lot of negative publicity around it, and unfairly so. And what we've done is we've started challenging that in the media, in our key source markets, to put across a different and the real narrative around what you need to call it. You can't call it South African variant. It's got a specific name. And what we were starting to do is saying we can't just have that be the only narrative about South Africa in our key source market, because then that becomes someone's reality. So what we started doing is also, again, to start challenging incorrect and misinformation in our key source market, so that hopefully people can make informed decisions and are empowered to do so.
Yeah. And national, South African tourism assisting in that? Are they coming to the party? Because there was criticism that they were a bit too late, because it started to take its own spin. And, I hear it not daily, but whenever I'm in touch with somebody, people are saying, "Oh, are you safe down there?" And whatever I said, it's prevalent in 48 countries. It was found here. That's why it's falsely called the South African variant. It wasn't invented here and launched here or whatever. It was found here by our brilliant scientists. And I'm, as you can hear, I'm getting really upset about this whole story, because my daughters are, going back, and they have to quarantine for 2 weeks because they're coming from South Africa. They're home with a negative test, and they still have to quarantine for 14 days.
Yeah, I hear your passion, and I think that's why you're still, a true Cape Townian through and through, my friend. But I think to your point is that South African tourism, they did come late out publicly. I think there was a lot of things done behind the scenes, because again, how protocols work. So they have to work with the National Department of Tourism, will engage with international relations that can speak to the embassies that they need to fulfill their role. There was also a role to play, remember, for brand South Africa, which is around the South African brand, whereas SAT is focusing on the tourism. So what SAT have done is communicated with trade, with media through their country managers, their hub heads globally. I think the problem is that because they're doing it in those markets, you don't hear about it, they don't talk about it. And I think that's part of a communications issue of sharing what they are doing with all of us so that we can know.
So I think communication is definitely key.
Yeah.
Time is unfortunately running on, but I want to quickly, before we close, highlight a campaign or an initiative that Cape Town Tourism, together with the City of Cape Town, is driving, getting ready of Cape Town as a staycation destination. The digital nomad, to get people here to say, you know what, I don't have to work in, let's not be horrible to any other city, to big cities that are, in colder climes and whatever. I can actually work from Cape Town. It's got a fantastic infrastructure, whatever. What brought you about that? What brought that about, and how are those efforts going? Because there are a couple of technical issues which I believe are needing attention still.
No, absolutely. So the opportunity around a digital nomad is nothing new. I think for many years we've known a lot of people traveling globally, spending a long time in certain destinations, and still being able to run a business. And mostly consultants would do that. And what we realized is that because of how COVID-19 and lockdown has almost forced this revolution of technology and allowing people to work remotely, we said, well, maybe here's an opportunity that we can look into and see what Cape Town has on offer that could speak to that market. So in 2017, there was estimated around 2 million digital nomads globally. And the forecasting is that this could become 1 billion people by 2035. So definitely a growing market. I think what Cape Town has on offer is that we've got this open space, we've got technology, we've got infrastructure, we've got a lot of things that has actually allowed us to be ranked as one of the top destinations in the world for remote working. So with that accolade, it makes absolute sense for us to start promoting Cape Town as that destination. And what we are doing is we're working quite closely with the city to make sure that when we promote and market the destination as a leisure or digital nomad or remote working destination, we also need to make sure that we live up to the promise. And one of the challenges we are facing now is around the visa system. because a digital nomad would stay for a longer time than what the traditional visa would allow. And it's going to be a specialized visa. But what we are asking national government to do is to look at this opportunity to help recover our economy, rewrite some of the policy around digital nomads, or create a special dispensation for it, and then making sure we can do e-visas. Because what we want to do is to try and streamline this opportunity, because we've got everything that a digital nomad would want in a destination, and would be foolish of us not to go after this market, which we are seeing is growing globally.
Absolutely. Aren't we lucky that we don't have to go here because we are already here? We are lucky we don't have to look for some other destination. Enver Duminy, CEO of Tourism, Cape Town Tourism, thank you so much for your time. Wish you well for the next few months. It's going to be tough still, but we will make it, and you can market a wonderful city. I can live in that wonderful city and market also with the limited exposure that I can give it, but we certainly will do so. Thank you so much for your time, Enver. Take care.
Thanks a lot, Nils, and all the best to you, my friend.